Hi, my name is Felice, and I'm blessed and grateful to be in recovery. And welcome to our Wacky Wednesday Why Wait for Recovery community meeting.
Hi, my name's Haiti, and I am a compulsive overeater, a binger, purger. I'm a food addict, a drug addict. I'm an addict, and we get together to discuss recovery and addiction on Wednesdays and Saturdays. So welcome to our community. We missed you on Sunday.
We missed you on Sunday. I was out of it.
Yeah, and most of us here in the rooms were, and was just too much going on. So we had a break on Sunday, but we didn't have a break from recovery.
And that's right, we didn't. And we're going to talk about honesty today. And I'm gonna talk about what I did on Sunday. So that's really awesome. So I'm a drug addict and an alcoholic and an anorexic, and I really am blessed and grateful to be in recovery. And so we were going to talk about honesty, right? It says honestly, because I actually talked about this with my therapist. So I called the people that I needed to call on Sunday morning, and I said, I'm tired and I have absolutely nothing to give, and I can't run a meeting today. Correct?
Correct.
And I was 1,000% honest. And that honesty is difficult for people to hear. If I would have called Angie or you or whatever and said, you know what, I'm sick with a fever, and I have throwing up, and I can't make the meeting today, everybody would have understood. And in the past, before I was in recovery and allowed myself to be honest and not take personally what you think of me, but to know that I'm doing my best to do my best and to tell my truth, that however it's received on the other end, and it wasn't received well by anybody. So no matter how it's received on the other end, it's super freeing to know that as long as I am doing my best to do my best, and for me, honesty is part of that, then whatever else happens. If somebody out there was upset that we didn't have the meeting or whatever, it's okay, man, like it is the way that it was for me. And it's so funny because, when we lie about everything. I'm going to speak for myself. When I was using, I lied about everything because I was lying about using. And so I wasn't honest with myself. And once we're not honest with ourselves, it really doesn't matter if we're honest with anybody else, right? We're making excuses for everything that we're doing. We're lying about, why didn't you show up here today? Oh, I was sick. No, I was drug withdrawn. But it sounds, I was sick with a fever, sounds a whole lot better than I was drug withdrawn, so I decided not to come over today.
Drug sick.
Right?
Right.
So I did that. But it's funny because my first instinct really, when you call somebody to say, because this is a responsibility of mine, right, that I take on so gladly, but it is still something that I've made a responsibility for myself to show up and to run these meetings twice a week. First instinct is to say, you know what, I'm going to call everybody and tell them I'm sick. Instead of saying, I'm exhausted, and what I said was, I have absolutely nothing to give today to anybody else, and I didn't. And that was really cool for me to be able to hear myself say it and to be honest about it.
So when you told me that you were sick and that you couldn't make the meeting,
I didn't say I was sick.
I mean, not that you were sick, that you were tired and that you
Mm-hmm.
couldn't really do a meeting, that you were exhausted and you had nothing in you. I went into a flat panic, and this is my interpretation of it as well, is that I can't do this on my own, and we do this together, and I just whatever. It was all the crap and shit that goes through my head, and also it was also from that point in what we've just been looking at in terms of studying and things we've been doing, of having, when we talk about the principles that we discuss of honesty and integrity and all these different kinds of spiritual principles. A lesson for me last week was that what I was saying in the rooms wasn't necessarily what I was practicing at home. So I was talking honesty and willingness and all these different things and integrity, but I was out of integrity when coming to deal with the kids and dealing with my husband, and how I was showing up in the rooms wasn't the same as I was showing up and treating the people in my life at home. And all of a sudden I had that challenge of integrity. I said I was going to be here, and we said we're going to be here, and then I actually realized, things happen. You happy and healthy is far more important, and people were okay. They could still reach out via Facebook on what's eating you. They could still pick up the phone and call us. Mm-hmm. You still called people once you woke up. The world still carried on turning, and nothing came to an end.
I told you that was
I know.
like everybody's gonna live without us. But But for me, though, just to be able to call and say, you know, I'm not doing this because I can't today. I'm not doing it because I'm sick, because my car broke down, because I have a flat tire, because my kids are, you know, it was just like, I don't want to. Like, I can't. I'm tired and I have nothing to give.
So it
And
was
there's something
a full
real
sentence.
Yeah, and the part that's so freeing is knowing that when I do tell the truth, that later I don't have to remember what excuse I made to you, or what excuse I made to you, or which one I told you, because if I tell the truth, it's the truth, so that story's going to be the same. I don't have to remember what I said or worry about who's going to say what to whomever. And it's awesome.
So I'll tell you, this has been one of my challenges, and it's been an ongoing challenge when I go to meetings and I'm in the rooms, and it happened today. So the speaker today has got 7 years clean from abstaining from drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about how he all of a sudden has gained 80 pounds from overeating, and food is his other go-to tool for feeling better. So my challenge is, when I'm in active addiction, it doesn't matter what that substance is that I'm picking up, if it's food, if it's cigarettes, if it's gambling, if it's sex, if it's whatever it is, I'm still using.
Right, because it's not about the food, and it isn't about the pot, and it's not about the Coke, and it's not about the gambling. It's about what's going on inside of us.
And I find it so interesting how people can stand up in AA, and different types of meetings and be okay with abstaining from drugs and alcohol, but not be, and kind of treat food, cigarettes, and other things like lesser addictions don't count. You know, if you're actively using those things, it doesn't really count and take away your clean time, because it's not that important. And I'm actually reaching that stage where I'm going, do you know what? Food kills. I mean, people don't realize the severity of how severe food addiction really is.
Correct.
You may have different, maybe a tougher one to come to terms with, whatever your story is. But the thing is, at some stage, it does affect our health. It always affects how we feel and our mental state, and that demoralization. But it also has a long-term effect. Some of us die really quickly, okay, when we perforate our colons or our esophagus, or something else happens from the binging and purging and the other stuff that we do to ourselves.
That's exactly right. But when we talk about the definition, or what I would consider the definition of any addiction, right, we talk about a physical craving and a mental obsession. And so, you guys, when we're 200 pounds overweight, it ain't because we eat too much. Right? We could talk about that physical craving and that mental obsession. Anytime you go through any AA, NA, whatever book, cross out alcohol or drugs, and you put overeating, everything still flows the way that it's supposed to. And so it isn't about what we're picking up, it's about the why. And yes, do we judge others? We all judge, you guys. It's definite character defect. That's definitely one of my character defects. Do we judge others? Yes, we do. Do we judge others and sometimes have some resentment? Because I have to pee test, but I don't have to pee test for chocolate. You know what I mean? Like, if I eat chocolate, nobody's going to know, right? So you guys don't have a pee test. I do. You know, my medical license gets pulled. So there's a whole lot of stigma about drugs and alcohol, where there's not that stigma about food. And again, it doesn't have to do with what we're picking up. It has to do with why we're picking up. And my why and your why I'm eating Percocet and you're eating Oreos, is the same why.
And the feelings are the same. That guilt, that shame, that demoralization, that really feeling shit about ourselves, and reaching that point where we're so low that some of us just really want to die. You know, that's where...
Right. Is there anybody in this room that ever wanted to kill themselves or not wake up in the morning?
Sure.
Okay, so a lot of us. So
yeah.
I
just, before we start checking in with everyone, can I just quickly touch base with everyone out there? So
no.
we live stream on Facebook, on YouTube, on a couple of formats. People share us all over as well. We also have people jumping into the rooms on Zoom, so they're able to jump into the conversation. There are certain rules of engagement as things happen. Everyone's muted as you come in. Just unmute yourself if you want to say something and join in the discussion. Speak up, because really at the end of the day, what I'm learning, the pivotal part of my recovery is talking about the crap that goes through my head. And the more I speak about the secrets and the crazy thinking that I think, the healthier I'm actually becoming, and the less they can actually hurt me.
Yeah, and when we talk about the secrets and all that, since our thing tonight is about honesty, everything that we do in recovery, you guys, People talk about doing a fourth step. Oh my God, I couldn't do my fourth step. I couldn't. If you don't get the spiritual principle behind the first step, which is honesty, if you don't got that, you don't got nothing, as far as I'm concerned. If you don't have that honesty with yourself so that you can be honesty with everyone else, then how are we doing our best to do our best?
And
How are we?
We can't.
Right,
I mean,
we
we
can't.
really can't, and we also can't reach that stage of healing. And part of being in recovery is the healing process.
Well, it's
Right.
all a healing process.
Right. And also, one of the reasons we do what we do and we are in community is recovery for addicts is a heart-to-heart experience, a spiritual experience. There is nothing, any of the crazy thoughts I've ever said or thought about or the things I've done, someone in the room always relates to. If it's eating out of the garbage, whatever the story is and the stuff that I've done and overeating and the binging, the purging, all the crap that I've done to myself and the way I've treated myself, the one place I really feel comfortable and that people understand me is when I'm sitting in these meetings and I can talk to people, because normal people don't get this. They do not understand it.
I actually was having a conversation with my therapist yesterday, and we were talking about, and I was talking about being an addict and the difference between when I first got into recovery, which was after my 17-year-old son had died, and I was so crazy, and that was kind of my excuse to use. Well, using was the only way that I knew how to live, and everybody else's excuse to enable me. And so when I went into treatment, it was almost expected. Of course, she's an alcoholic or a drug addict. Her kid died. And then after that, when I relapsed, there wasn't any excuse. And everybody said to me, what did you learn from your, you're going to learn something from your relapse. And yeah, I learned I was an addict. And that was when we talk about honesty. I learned that I was an addict. Not that I used because I was in pain. Because my life, when I relapsed, looked really pretty good. I was walking around with some fear and not being honest about that. But most importantly, I needed to take a look at myself and say, I am an addict. That's what I am. That's just as much an important part of me as the mom or the doctor or the friend or the neighbor or the, orchid lover or whatever. Of all of those things, that I'm an addict. And that I think it's impossible, to tell you the truth, for somebody who has never been in active addiction to actually understand what it means to be an addict.
And I think also there's that element, everyone comes into the room, so it gets that realization at different points. For some of it's younger, some of us it's later. But I think it's also when we realize that it's actually a disease, it's not something that all of a sudden we're an addict today and normal tomorrow if we abstain long enough. If only there was a pill I could take for it and be normal, or bariatric surgery, or whatever the story was, if there was a quick cure and a quick fix and I wouldn't be an addict anymore and I could just be normal. I think part of that process of the honesty and the surrendering into it becomes realizing that this is a disease and you got to treat it like any other disease. You've got the symptoms and you've got the cure, and you're never 100% cured with it, but you can step into recovery. And the beauty with recovery is, as bad as things were in active addiction, that are so much easier to deal with when we're dealing with recovery.
Right. And I think what you meant was no matter how difficult recovery is,
Right.
It's so much better than even the best time that we had in active addiction.
Well, what I actually really meant is no matter what shit is going on in your world at this stage, it's far easier dealing with it when you're clean
When
and
you're not
sober
using,
and you're
yeah.
not using than dealing with shit and active addiction at the same time.
Yeah. So having your shame on top of shame, or guilt on top of guilt, or hating yourself on top of hating yourself, right?
Yeah.
So you want to check in? You want to check in?
Sure.
Should we do Zoom first and go
Sure.
around this way?
So we have
Hi,
some,
Zoomers. Hi, Jess. You're on top of the Zoom there. Zoom cam.
and you're not
Hi.
working tonight. It's so nice to see you.
What's going on, Miss Jess?
I just wanted to comment on what you just said, Felice, about the part of realizing you're an addict. I went and saw my therapist today as well, and she said, you're a different person than, like 4 months ago. She said that person was talking about getting their mouth wired shut, and now you're totally in acceptance and, have great things to report. Like, what changed? And I told her the biggest thing, I think, is realizing it's addiction. And it's not that I'm punishing myself anymore. It's, I have to do this to keep myself healthy.
Wow, that's awesomely said. Really awesomely said. Thanks for sharing that. Any challenges with
Sure.
honesty at all this week? With you being honest with you or being honest with anybody else?
No, I don't
Okay.
think so.
Good. That's really good to see you.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you're here.
Yes,
Miss Karen?
thank you.
Hi, Karen.
Hi.
What up, girl?
It really feels like the pieces finally fell into place when I realize and accept the fact that I'm an addict and have the same challenges that any other addict, no matter what the substance is. But I also never realized how much I lie to myself and to others about things, not in an effort to hurt anyone. I didn't think, but it's just it is a difficult thing, and it's just constant. Oh gosh, that wasn't the truth. I should, it's like I would call in sick when I was just, sick in the head, but I really needed that mental health day. But it's easier to make up a lie about the physical symptom than to tell the truth.
Absolutely. And you guys, the truth isn't always received real well.
No.
So it's kind of, the planet's got something to do with that as well, right? Can you imagine if you could call in and say, thank you so much. I'm just letting you know that I'm going to stay home and have a mental health day and not have to worry about getting fired, right? We learn to lie when we're little because we know we're going to get in trouble. As adults, we're not children. There are some things that are we going to stretch the truth a little bit, like since we need to have our paycheck because we need to pay our mortgage. But as far as in our interpersonal relationships and our own relationship with ourselves spiritually, there's no room for lying there.
Right.
And for me, it also comes from that place of wanting to look good all the time.
Exactly.
I get very uncomfortable in my own skin, and I've got to present well to others. So I think I'm responsible for their reaction as well. So it's always looking good at the expense of feeling good. I mean, ultimately is what it comes down to.
And do we actually have control over how I say what I say? You take it the way you take it, right?
That's very freeing to realize that, and yet it's not at all, doesn't all at all feel natural.
Right. Because it's not natural, because it's not what we're used to doing. So it's something that we have to relearn or have to learn. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And the more that we go through it and not beat ourselves up about it, the easier it becomes. No matter how much the other person maybe doesn't want to hear the truth, or how much that person might not take it the way that you hope that they're going to take it.
Right. And
Right.
that's a hard part too, because I always tend to go back and second guess myself. Well, if I just said this, or if I tried it this way, or if I'd approached it at this
Yeah,
time
you're
instead of
living
that
in the
time.
past, man. And there ain't nothing you could do back there, right? You can live there as long as you want, but nothing's changing. Right?
Right. Right.
So I just wanted to say, one of the most important people in our rooms are the new people that come in. And we've got someone new tonight. I just wanted to say, hi, Becky. How you doing? You're on mute. Welcome to our community. It's awesome to have you.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm good. Well, just listening to what you were saying at the beginning and just now again, that we don't have control about what other people think about us. But, it feels good when you get positive feedback, of course. And like, I had weight loss surgery 5 weeks ago.
Uh-huh.
And the people at the office keep, encouraging me and talking, positively about everything that I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And one comment she made today was, "You're just so honest with yourself."
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, that's exactly what I need to do. I need to be honest with myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I told her I need to treat this as an addiction.
Good. Very good. And what's going to happen? So in the beginning, we get clean, right? And we're cleaning out those receptors in our brain, especially the dopamine receptor, right? And that's what we're addicted to. And that allows us to step into our recovery. And my hope for you is that the more you step into recovery, the more you'll realize that if you're doing your best to do your best, and if you are telling the truth, that you won't need positive feedback from somebody else because you'll feel good enough about yourself. to know that you're doing the next right thing, and that's what the universe probably would like us to do. And so if I'm doing the next right thing, because you're going to come up to people who want you to share their cake for dessert, and you're going to say no, and maybe they're going to have a challenge, and that's their challenge. It doesn't have anything to do with you. And so you're still going to come up with things like that where people are going to disagree with. In the beginning, okay, you had surgery, everybody's yay, pat on the back, that's so wonderful, until it's not so convenient for them anymore. Or until your recovery isn't convenient for them anymore. And that doesn't matter because everybody out there is doing their thing. And the only thing you're responsible for is doing your best to do your best. That's it. And the rest of the universe is going to take care of itself. And that's kind
The
of
sound just went out. I don't know what you just recently said.
okay. All right. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. I said that, that's all we're responsible for is to do our best, to do our best, to do our best. And that the universe is really going to take care of itself. And good for you that you had your surgery. I'm glad that you're feeling better and that you are doing the right thing. Are you following whatever it is that you're supposed to be following 100%? No rice, bread, potato, pasta, sweets, no chips, no starches?
Correct.
Good. Keep that up because that's your drug of choice.
That's another thing I really wanted to dig deeper into is what is my drug of choice? Like as far as what's my trigger foods?
Well, so
And
it's not
that's something I think I need to talk to the sponsor with, but I'm just not sure really how to approach that and how to define what my actual trigger
And so
foods
that's
are.
something that you could talk about on what's eating you, because that's a pretty long discussion. So put up your question on what's eating you, and a bunch of people will get back with you about that.
There are quite a
And
few of us.
definitely speak with your sponsor. And lots of these guys are post bariatric surgery.
And What's Eating You is a closed group, so it is members only, the free members on Facebook, but whatever's discussed there stays there. And in the beginning, it's pretty easy in terms of the foods because we're not really craving foods. I'm post-bariatric surgery myself. But it's also a great support group for when we do reach those challenges where we start becoming resentful and we have the other things that start happening and we have all the questions and other things going on. So reach out, it is your community. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. Pleasure. Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
What's up, girl?
Nothing really. Today was a better day as far as just personal life goes.
Why was it a better day?
Well, there was a lot of things that were behind finances, things like that, and a lot of it got taken care of today.
Okay.
So just a little bit of patience, and that's all it took.
Okay.
And I just feel good about myself. I'm doing what I have to do.
You're doing what you choose to do?
Right, what I
Okay.
choose to do. So
Okay.
I'm choosing to do this, and just feels nice to step into recovery.
Can I say something about Sarah? So Sarah's not only stepping into recovery and working on her recovery, but she also stepped into service.
Right.
And one of
Thank
the
you,
most,
by the way.
and thank you, we so appreciate it because one of the ways that I just find helps me in my recovery as well is that when you're involved in a community and you're giving of yourself, which is an amazing thing to be able to do, and she gives so generously, it touches other people.
Of course.
It really helps shift their world. And no matter what that service looks like, welcoming someone, saying hi, whatever that looks like,
Posting a simple
something,
post, that
answering-
somebody else needed to hear.
right, and answering a post when someone posts on
Yeah.
on Facebook, we had people just as Karen, there's so many people that step into service just by being generous and kind and compassionate, just by being themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, with their
And thank you.
words
That was so
respectfully.
awesome what you did yesterday. Thank you.
No problem. I definitely enjoy doing it.
Thank you. Hi, Ash. How are you?
Good. Really tired, but good nonetheless.
Okay. Any honesty things going on?
Weirdly enough, right before I came here, I spoke to my ex-boyfriend for probably 20 minutes, and I don't even know how we got in conversation, but I was just completely honest about how everything went down and how the things I felt he did wrong in the relationship, and it felt great. And I think I wasn't entirely honest in the relationship because I was afraid of what may happen, but now nothing's gonna happen. So I was just like, here it all is, take it how you want it, and that was that, and it was fantastic.
So I love that, first of all, that you talk about a relationship and how we're in relationships, we're afraid a lot of times, to be honest. But then when we think about it, do we want to be in a relationship with somebody we can't be honest with?
Absolutely not.
You know, and you don't own that, because I'm like that too. Like, we're all like that. You know, if this person sees who I really am, are they going to want me? If I tell the truth, are they going to want me? Right? If I'm true to myself, are they going to want me? But again, why would we want to be in a relationship with somebody that we couldn't be honest with? I wouldn't be your friend if I couldn't be honest with you, but I'd be your girlfriend and not be honest with you? Like, does that make any sense, really, when we think about it? It's crazy, right? Right. So those are things that we get to look at ourselves about. That's about us. And if I'm honest in a relationship and the other person doesn't receive it well, it's probably not. And remember, and I am doing my best to do my best. That doesn't give me permission to act however I want to act and expect the other person to accept that that's who I am. Doesn't give me permission to be mean. But if I'm being kind and I'm being honest and I'm being compassionate and I'm being of service and I am doing my best, if you don't like me, then you're not the person that I should be with. So it took me a really long time. I'm just starting to notice that. And it took me a lot of therapy and a really, really, really long time to be able to even have this conversation with you. And for me to say, yeah, Felice, listen to what you're saying out loud. Really. So thank you for saying that. But wouldn't it be nice in your next relationship to just be completely honest from the get-go?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then we'll talk about being in new relationships when we're new in recovery and what that looks like as well.
So you actually brought up a really interesting topic as well, is relationships. And it's something I've been hearing quite a bit, bouncing around in different places. We're fortunate enough to have a program that we can work that helps us grow as people and develop as people and have the principles and be able to rely on things when things start getting crazy. But a lot of people out there don't have a program that they're working in. They live in a crazy space, and sometimes we're there as teachers, sometimes we're there as students, sometimes we're just there by accident, we're just there.
We're there, yeah. We don't know if it's an accident, but we're there.
So it's just as interesting for me because I really promised myself that for the first year I've been in what I thought was recovery before and I relapsed, so I was just abstaining. I was clean for a period of time. I still haven't picked up those foods that are my trigger foods, but the thing is, I haven't been in recovery in terms of working a program. So I've stayed off the starches, but I haven't been in recovery. And as I started this time, I took it more seriously because I needed things to be different and look different and work a proper program. And I promised myself that for the first year, I'm not going to make any major changes in terms of relationships because I'm changing so much. So I think in the beginning, when we first started heading into those first 90 days, we're a little nuts. You know, we never had emotion.
We're actually crazy.
We're actually crazy because we didn't really, for me,
crazy.
I'm still crazy. I mean, but the thing is, for me, I suppressed my emotions for so long that all of a sudden when you start feeling these emotions and it becomes so overwhelming and it becomes so self-absorbing and we're so wrapped up in ourselves and our own world, I think we go through a whole different metamorphosis in terms of getting in touch with who we really were from the time when we were clean before and really like at that spiritually balanced place if we ever were, and growing up in the space that we're in.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's a difficult place to be, and it's, you know, you're going to have people too when we have this conversation that are going to say, well, that's not fair because she has a husband. You know, that's not fair because, you know, she has a roommate. That's not fair because she already has a dog. You know, 28 days where you had to get the plant and keep it alive before he was allowed to get the dog. And he was like, oh, I'm never going to get laid. It was like so hysterical. But anyway.
Look after that.
Right. So, okay. Yeah. But, yeah, it's a tough thing. And we'll talk a little bit more about, you know, one of the reasons why we want to get into new relations or quit our job and get a new job or something is because we're looking to catch that buzz somewhere. And so, you know, the rule of thumb usually is that first year of recovery, or as close to the first year as we could get, that if we could spend that time working on ourselves, that it's just better for us. And it also, in the long run, will be better for the relationship that we're in, because we're going to do a whole lot of changing as we step into recovery. And we will get a little less crazy, hopefully. And we'll look at things differently as we get more and more recovery. And then you're in a place where you're like, okay, I'm with that one. You know, like, now what am I going to do, right? Kind of stuck there. So that brings us to Allison.
So wait. Before we get on to Allison,
Yes.
I just wanted to address a couple of questions that just came up as well. One was about getting a sponsor. So a sponsor really is someone who's been a year or more clean, who understands the steps.
So whether or not your sponsor is a year or more clean is something that we talk about, but I know there are people that have 6 months of recovery
And
that
strong
actually
recovery.
have some good recovery.
Right.
As opposed to 6 months clean time who is still, you know, still really struggling. And so I think that that's going to be a personal thing. You know, they do say in the room, look for somebody who has what you want. Not that you want their car or their wife or their dog, but that spiritually they touch your heart. Spiritually, they touch you, they reach you, they hear you, you hear them, that you can grow and have a spiritual experience with.
So, Ronnie, just touching on to what you're saying, you don't have to have bariatric
Shut up.
surgery to have a sponsor. So really a sponsor is someone who understands recovery and how to work through a program, and you either step into the workshops and you find accountability buddies and you get people that really can help support what you do, and you
Yes.
reach out to the community that is online that we also have in Facebook. There are people there with really great recovery who work great programs. Reach out and ask your questions to them as well. One of the things Liz said is that it's a second time around with bariatric surgery. So she's post bariatric surgery, but twice. And what I hear in the rooms is that people think that just because we get thin, because we lose the weight, that we can keep doing what we're doing before and expect different results. So if we keep doing the same behaviors of picking up the same foods and those same behaviors of overeating or binging, whatever the story is, we're going to land up in exactly the same place that we started.
And actually sometimes worse. And so I see those patients. Angeli comes to work with me, and lately, and I know maybe it's been a little hard for you, because how many patients do I see who come in for their diabetes who have had bariatric surgery 2 years, 3 years, 4 years ago, who lost 150 pounds, are now back and being treated for their diabetes because they've gained back 200. A lot.
Yeah,
Correct?
we haven't seen any.
Go ahead, Ange.
I was just gonna say, yeah, we haven't had any patients who came in and said they had bariatric surgery and they kept the weight off. And we see every time I go in with you, we see like 3 or 4 patients every day, and that's kind of scary. It's really scary.
Yeah, so I do endocrinology on Tuesday and Thursday, and so endocrinology, we do type 2 diabetes. And so, you know, eventually you gain back the weight, you're going to become diabetic. And it really is scary. It's very scary, and it's a good kind of scary. I guess for me, it's like seeing somebody, you know, ODing. Like, it's like basically the same thing. It's like that's where I need to make sure that I don't get back to. And so, yeah, when you talk about having bariatric surgery and how you and I have talked even in front of everybody before, where you lost 100 pounds, right? And it didn't make you happier, it just made you skinnier.
Right. So I reached that stage where I'd lost 80 pounds and I was still miserable. And I lost about 130 pounds and I was still miserable. And I lost 150 pounds overall with gaining and losing and still feeling like shit until I really started working, getting in touch with my recovery. And that really is pivotal, because it is very easy to get in calories. I mean, you can drink them. If you're picking up those milkshakes and doing the same things we were doing before, you know, I see people posting going, oh, well, I can eat these potatoes or these kinds of things. And you know what? It's not beyond the food. For us as food addicts, is 2 parts. One is the recovery part of it, which is really working on that spiritual broken side. The other side is really being honest with ourselves and saying, these things are just not places where I can go, because these are my trigger foods. These are things that get me going, and these are my substances that just get me going in the cravings. And
So I was dying to talk
Yes,
right
I
now.
know.
So I see this post on Facebook, you guys, about this person that got herself a Big Mac. She was post-bariatric surgery, and she got herself a Big Mac, and she couldn't eat the whole thing at one time, but she didn't want to deprive herself. And you guys know that I put this up on Facebook the other day. She didn't want to deprive herself and then of being able to eat a Big Mac as she was post-surgery. And so then people said, yeah, you shouldn't deprive yourself, and you shouldn't say that you can't have this because it's bad, and everything in moderation. And if that was the truth, nobody would be at this meeting.
No one would have had bariatric surgery.
Exactly. If you can eat a quarter of a Big Mac, what the F are you doing here? Because what's going to happen is maybe today I can only eat a quarter of a Big Mac because that's what my stomach will hold. I can promise you 3 months post-surgery, I can learn how to eat past that surgery. You guys, so simple. It's like me saying, I'm a drug addict alcoholic. And now that I've been clean for 7 years, which it was before, I can have a Percocet. I'll have just one drink. I'll have one drink on Saturday. One drink. What's the difference, right? It's only one. There's no such thing as only one to an addict. And again, if there was such thing as a quarter of a Big Mac, us anorexic, by the way, can have a quarter of a Big Mac, but if there was such thing to somebody who's emotional, it's the truth. I can starve myself for weeks.
Well,
so, right.
And the truth is, I'm that serial dieter. I've tried every single diet under the books. If behavior modification would have shifted me and changed me, I would have only needed to do one diet ever and it would have worked.
Exactly.
You know,
Or
I'm an addict. I'm always forever an addict. I will never ever be normal. And if I keep trying to be normal and think if I've stayed long enough, I can go and eat that Big Mac. Do you know what? I choose not to because you know what? I've learned what it looks like when I do pick it up. I did the same behaviors long enough and kept getting exactly the same results after doing exactly the same thing of feeling shame, guilt, demoralized, and feeling like shit and wanting to kill myself eventually, that I know where that ends. It might start with a Big Mac with you, and by the time it ends up at the end, I'm purging and I'm feeling like shit, and I've gained 150 pounds at the end of the day.
And the only thing that we're depriving ourselves when we don't eat the Big Mac or when I don't eat a handful of Percocet, I'm depriving myself of guilt, of shame, of the lies, of the horror, of my life looking so horrible in the morning when I wake up. That's what I'm depriving myself from by not using or not picking up.
Well, I'm depriving myself of not going to pay another $15,000 for surgery.
Right, we go on vacay.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Right.
So
So thank you.
So
I had a
you had a
rant about
question.
that because
I don't know if it has,
Sure.
how is it possible if you have the surgery to gain all the weight back?
It's really easy. So what happens is, this is like a big, yes, but it's a big elastic. So if you keep going and going, it's a big elastic. So you just stretch it out and out again. And people who have the bypass, do you know what? If you drink enough and you drink enough calories and you suck chocolate, you suck enough chocolate, okay, you can gain this all back. There's stuff that you can suck and work out that has got so much calories in it that you can gain it back like that. Some people do. They get a reset
so listen,
surgery.
yeah, it's like going back into the treatment center.
Yeah,
Some of
I
us
got you.
do that again. Yeah, and I'm telling you because I have patient after patient after patient after patient after patient
it's not a fix
that come in. It doesn't fix anything. It just makes you not eat for a period of time. So it's like, again, first time I was in treatment, I was there for 6 months. So I was put somewhere for 6 months where I didn't drug and I didn't drink, right? And actually I was on anorexic watch. So they made sure that I ate. Somebody watched me eat. So those things were happening. When I got out after 6 months, I needed to know how to live. I needed to learn how to live as a woman in recovery. Had I not done that, I never would have gotten any clean time. If I'm not continuing to learn to live as a woman in recovery right now, then I'm going to use. And so if you just have the surgery, yeah, in the beginning you can't eat, right? In the beginning you can't eat and you're throwing up and you're doing all the stuff you're supposed to do and you're eating this much food. And then it becomes a little bit easier. And then, as Angela, you said to me, it was like 6 months and you were having cravings and you couldn't even believe it. You couldn't believe that you were having cravings after not having cravings for so long. And then our brain is back to, I'm an addict, right? So I can have one, right?
Right.
That thought process, and if you're not connected to a recovery community and have a good support group and stay connected with your peeps, there's a really good chance that you're going to use. And if you do what you did, you're going to get what you had. There's no way around that.
So we are not dealing with a physical behavioral aspect. Okay, we're dealing with a spiritual issue. This is something that if physically we could do, we could buy that thing, we could eat that thing, we could get that thing, and it would fix the whole problem. If it was the pill, if it was the surgery, if it was the food stuff, if it was whatever it was, physically we'd be able to fix it if that's what it took. This is a spiritual program, and spiritually it goes through those different things. If we don't have the honesty, if we're not open-minded, if we're not willing to try something different, for me as an addict, my biggest issue has been my thinking. For 42 years, it took me 42 years to get into the rooms, believing that the things that I told myself were honest and true, and that was the way that it was, and all it was is I know really well how to hurt myself. I know how to abuse myself. I know how to hurt myself. I know how to really do disgusting things to my body and to myself when I'm left alone. So the thing is, I needed to learn a whole new way of life. I had to learn, and not only, I couldn't do this on my own. I needed to be able to walk into a space and have something else other than my thinking that I could rely on to be able to know how to do this. And this is where program steps in.
Yeah, and so you're talking about, because we're talking about learning to live differently and learning to do differently, and most importantly, it's learning about who I am and why am I doing the things that I'm doing. Because again, when we talk about just changing our behavior, we're talking about behavior modification. We all know how to do that. None of us are idiots. So we could all do behavior modification for a while. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Why do I feel less than? Why do I feel unloved? Why do I walk around in fear all day long? Why am I angry, which is fear? Why am I resentful, which is fear? Why am I, all of those things that I'm going through, why is that? And when I find out why it is, how do I make that better so that I don't have to go back to that behavior and I don't automatically pick up?
And for me, it's also, why am I so uncomfortable in my skin? Why do I need you to like me more than I like myself? You know, why do I put myself in that space continually and think that's where I've got to gravitate to? So it's
And why is that? Why is that you need Allison to like you better than you like you?
Because that's what I'm learning. That's part of the process that I'm going through.
Right, and why is that, you guys? That I need you, Angeli, to really, really like me and love me, and I'm going to change the way that I act and I look so that you'll like me. Why is that?
Because you don't know your own self-worth.
Right, I have no sense of self or no sense of self-worth. And those are the things, when we talk about living spiritually, being happy, joyous, and free, living with those spiritual principles, you know, when I'm walking around and I'm honest and I have hope and I have some faith and I'm walking in integrity and I'm helping others out and I'm courageous and I have perseverance. When I'm working with all of those things, which are the spiritual principles behind the steps, I don't need you to like me. I just need to know that I'm doing my best to do my best, and that's all that's expected of me. And I can like me for doing that. I don't need your approval because I actually approve of myself when I'm doing my best to do my best. I'm not scared, right? And I don't feel unlovable.
And also I think there's that part of, as an addict, that by me giving you so much importance, if you don't do the things that I want you to do, it gives me the perfect excuse to pick up and use. So I can justify it and carry all this resentment and all these reasons of why it's okay for me to be treating myself and abusing myself and using the stuff that I'm using to change how I'm feeling because of the way that you're acting and the way you're behaving and the things you said. So it stops me from taking that responsibility in my own world and for my own happiness.
That's right. And even with that, even if I'm not going to pick up, because how many people are clean, so we're not going to talk about the recovery word, how many people are clean and miserable?
A lot.
We all go to meetings, right?
More than
How many
that.
people are clean and miserable? And you know, we say that, right? We don't get clean to stay miserable. And so again, I'm going to say, they say in the rooms, if you're an alcoholic horse thief and you stop using, you stop drinking, you're still a horse thief. So it's learning how not to be the horse thief, learning why I am that horse thief, and learning that I can do things that are better so that my behavior can be better, I could feel better so my behavior's better, so that I could actually be somebody who's in recovery and who's living a happy life, who wakes up in the morning and says, not all the time, because are we gonna act sometimes and react sometimes and have feelings or thoughts or fears, that aren't so great, of course. How long we sit there, hopefully, is what's going to change a lot for us. And where we sit in that negativity. Should we go to Allie?
Yes, please.
Allie, let's talk about relationships. You want to talk about relationships, Allie? Poor Allie. Poor Allie, like really? I call you out like more than anybody, right? She's so honest and awesome and so do we not, if we don't want to talk about it, that's okay.
Nope.
Are you lying? Yep.
I don't have a boyfriend.
Okay. No, I know. I'm good with you.
Speaking about honesty,
I'm gonna interrupt you because you got all kinds of honest this week. And I want to give you kudos for that. You said a lot of things out loud this week that I was surprised that you were brave enough to say. And I want to congratulate, I want to give you kudos for that because I know that that's really, really hard.
Thank you. I
So,
appreciate that.
so good for you.
Thank you. And in saying that, I also want to say that, yes, I have been abstinent, but I am not in recovery.
Okay.
Like, I can't say those words that I'm a recovering food addict or compulsive overeater or whatever, because I'm not there yet.
And what part of that makes you not in recovery? What part of what's going on with you makes you not in recovery?
Just because I still use other things outside of myself to kind of mood alter.
So you're talking about spiritually.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then also the way that I use food, not as far as like the things that I eat, but the behaviors with food are still an issue for me.
So it's something that you should be writing about. Because what you just said there is so important and something that everybody needs to hear. So I'm going to ask you, please, if you don't mind, to post something about that. Because what you're saying right now is absolutely anybody who's gone into recovery with food or is working on their recovery at some point is going through what you're talking about right now.
When you said that, the whole room went unbelievably quiet.
Yeah.
So it really resonates with a lot of people, not only for people in recovery, but also for the people who've gone for bariatric surgery. Because whether you're in recovery or not, we reach a certain point where we have to face this. And it's so real and it's so poignant, and it'd be awesome if you share.
Yeah, good job though for saying that yeah, I'm not using, but I'm not in recovery. God bless you for saying that. Really, that was awesome. Awesome. Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you. Sorry I'm late.
We don't say we're sorry here. We say we're awesome. It's awesome that you're here.
Yes.
Yes. And can you let everybody know what your name is?
I'm Rebecca.
Hi, Rebecca.
Hi, Rebecca. Welcome.
Thanks.
So I'm glad that you're in the room. We're talking about honesty. And you can share if you want to share. And if you want to get used to the group first, that's okay too. That's up to you.
Well, whatever you want me to do.
I want you to do what it is that you want to do.
I don't care. I mean, I can share or not.
Okay, so you decide. I'm going to scoot on. And then if there's anything that you want to share, you let me know.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Hi.
Hi.
Long time no see, babe.
Hi.
It's really good to see you today.
Yeah,
I'm
glad
really
to be
glad
here.
that you're here.
I'm glad to see everybody.
Yeah, we're all glad that you're here.
So I'm good.
Okay.
I am.
Okay.
I started back last Wednesday, eating properly how I should be. 'Cause I
Okay,
fell
how you
off the
choose
wagon.
to.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So you fell off the wagon means
Yeah.
you used all kinds of crap. Can we not say
Yeah.
we fell off the wagon? Because you know what? If
Yeah,
I show up with a
ate
needle in my arm,
really-
no one's going to say, oh, Felice fell off the wagon.
Yeah, no, I
You're
ate
going to say
everything
Felice is
right.
shooting up, calling ambulance.
Everything, the whole month of November and December, just
Okay.
and I've lost 6 pounds since last Wednesday, so I was happy about that this morning.
How much weight did you gain before that?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
No, I don't. It's not.
Because
it's
that's
not
a-
a good situation.
It's not a good situation, but it's a really important part of what it is that we do, right? So thank you for sharing that part too.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe
Okay.
I gained like 8 or 9 pounds.
Okay.
10 possibly.
Okay.
So I've lost 6. I mean, it's still, a long way to go. But I'm happy about it, and I am following the way I should be.
So you've changed your behavior.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you've changed your behavior.
Yes.
And now you're here so that you could change a little bit spiritually?
Yes. So that
Okay.
it all needs to go together.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what we're saying.
Like I got home from work and I was like, I'm really tired. I don't want to go. And my husband was like, you should go. He's like,
Yay, hubby.
he's like, it works good for you when you go. And so I'm here, and I'm glad I'm here.
I'm really glad that you're here. Really, we're all really glad that you're here. So thanks for coming tonight.
Yeah, thanks.
Ash, you just moved, right?
Yeah.
We already just
That's what I'm
did.
saying, that I moved over here.
It's like, don't pick on me again. I already shared. Hi, Angeli.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
And since we're thanking people for their service, thank you for your service. Thank you for
Thank
everything
you.
that you do online. Thank you for everything that you do behind the scenes. Thank you for everything that you do spiritually and personally for me and for everybody else in the group.
You're
It's
welcome.
greatly appreciated. I love you
would
very
say
much.
Thank you also.
Yeah.
She's been
Thank you.
She's awesome.
had conversation this week.
Yeah, she reaches out, she shares when she's happy and when she's in the shits. So, and that's what we all need to hear. So, thank you very much from the
You're
bottom of
welcome.
my heart. Now, what's going on? You want to be honest about something?
I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna talk about the same thing I talked about last week.
Okay.
Because last week wasn't really last week. It's still this week. When was that? Oh no, it was last week.
Oh,
It was
and?
Wednesday. Okay. No, the week was like towards the end of the week. I think I had said it was getting better, and it just continued to get better. I have little things here and there, you know, because I'm going through some kind of transition. I know what it is. Like, I'm coming out on the other end. I'm making a big, like, it's a big transition. I'm beginning to see, like, that the time I've invested in recovery and in changing and deciding to do this for myself it's really showing me that it's possible, because I think I was still in the stage of just doing what I'm told to do and having faith that it's going to work, but there's that part of me that didn't believe at all this is going to work. I always thought, like, this is crap. Why is she making me do this? But I did it nonetheless. Yeah, her. She is Felice.
Her.
She's my sponsor. And I honestly am able to say that I see it works without a doubt in my mind, and that's big for me because, you know, as addicts we worry and we are anxious about things and we think our way's the best way and nobody else knows what they're talking about. And so I'm beginning to see that it isn't so. And I think it's important for me to say that my relationships are changing with people, in the sense that I tend to be codependent in relationships, and I'm beginning to realize that if I don't see somebody every day, or I'm not with someone every day, it doesn't mean they love me less or I love them less. It's just that that's the way it is and life happens and everyone's doing what they have to do. Anyways, that's all I have to say.
Well, and I appreciate you saying that. And I'm going to say, demeanor-wise, I wish that we had a film of you sitting in this meeting the first month that you were at these
I didn't
meetings.
smile.
Well,
I didn't
not
smile.
only that, your body language, the way that you project yourself, and Angela shared at a meeting the other night. You guys have to share that. Yeah, she shared at a meeting, which was tremendous for you.
Yeah, that's big.
You know, you started to share here and you feel more comfortable here, but to be out there in front of people. And I turned around to her in a meeting and I said, you need to share before you have your year, because she's got over 9 months. And she's like, you mean now? And I said, no, before the year. And she raised her hand and she said, blessed and grateful to be in recovery. I'm Angela, and she talked about what was going on with her. And I'm really proud of you, really proud of you for that. And so we say, you guys, if nothing changes, nothing changes. And so you're making a lot of changes right now. And some of that changes is just stepping out of your comfort zone. Some of that change is turning around to a friend and saying, this is what was said and this is how I feel. And not worrying about that person having a reaction to what you said or how you felt.
Well, Angela and I have become closer over time because personally I've learned so much from her just by her courage and by her openness and her honesty, but also by her taking action. And also, I feel special that she's my friend. I mean, she's just an awesome, awesome person. The more time I spend with her, the more I get to see the beautiful person that she is
Oh, thank
and appreciate
you.
her for who she is.
And I feel the same way.
So the beauty is that we're getting to know each other better. And it makes us closer. When we think that being vulnerable actually makes people, pushes people away. I think some of us come into the rooms really, really sick, and my past experiences haven't always been the healthiest with relationships. And I'm learning that I'm in a really safe place now than where I was when I first stepped into the rooms. And thank you. You're one of the people that make it a great place to be.
Thank you.
And while we're thanking people, can we also thank Ahmed?
Thank you,
You know, we
Ahmed,
have-
for doing
we
all the
have-
stuff that you do. Truth.
So
True that.
true that, you know, we have people, you know, when we talked about Why Wait for Recovery, it was an idea that we came up with, and it's been around for a while, and it's just really grown and blossomed into thousands of people, which is quite amazing. This community is growing, but it doesn't grow without people who are just generous and kind and step into service and just give of themselves and help get the message out and help us grow. And we're very, very grateful for that, because I think the greatest gift is to help someone who's suffering and in pain and bring them into a place where they can see there's another way and there are other possibilities. And, you know, recovery is awesome once you start getting into it. It is miraculous.
I
Yeah.
just want to add, sometimes as addicts, we think we don't have anything good to say. What are people going to learn from me? Because, you know, we think of ourselves as less than. And through working on recovery, I realized that some of the best people I honestly know in my life are recovering addicts. That genuine, honest people you want to be around, people you want to be friends with, they're people in recovery. And I think that's just an important thing to look at and to pay attention for ourselves and for our own growth and self-worth.
You know, when we talk about being in recovery too, because I talk about this too, it's like recovery, addiction and recovery are a two-edged sword. And it's really easy to be ambivalent about it. So in one respect, I'm an addict and I hate the fact that I'm an addict. And then on that same, the other side of that coin is that I'm a woman growing in recovery. And I love that. And so ambivalent, right? The hate and the love kind of in the same sentence on that same coin. And the difference between addicts who are growing in recovery and the other, and the other folks is that they're not working. They might have the same problems that we have, although they don't have a needle in their arm, or they're not drinking, or they didn't just eat 76 Twinkies or vomit 63 times or starve themselves for a week. And they're not working on growing spiritually. And they're not working on being happy. And they're not concerned about their place in the universe. You know, because they don't have to, they don't. You know, not as a judgment, just saying. So if I wasn't an addict in recovery, would I be where I am right now spiritually? You know, we know that every single thing that happened in our lives has brought us to right here, good, better, and different. And this is where we are. So when we say that we're blessed and grateful to be in recovery, do I love the fact that I'm an addict? F no, man. But I truly am blessed and so grateful that I am in recovery and that I'm in recovery with you guys.
So I'm so pleased that you mentioned grateful, because you know, one of the things is this is like a vortex. The minute we walk into these meetings, time disappears so quickly. It's just amazing. We're coming to the end of our time, our hour with you. But we do meet every Wednesday from 9 to 10 p.m. and we do meet Sundays 9 to 10 a.m.
Eastern Standard Time.
Eastern Standard Time. You can either join us in the rooms, you can live stream us, you can join us via Zoom. But there are a couple of things that we ask you to do as part of our community, because it helps us, and they're things that we find help us, is gratitude. If we express three things that we are grateful for every single day, and our strength for the day, it makes us realize that not every single day is a great day, but there's something amazing that happens every single day, and it takes us out of our heads. We use What's Eating You on Facebook, and that's where that we are able to share what we're thinking. Anything that comes to mind, we're there to support each other. We've got a minute left, and also I was brought into this place by a friend. Bring a friend. It's a great place to hang out with friends. The coolest kids are in recovery.
That's
So
true.
we have got a minute left.
Okay, we have a minute left, so we're going to wrap it up. Say goodbye. I'm going to say again that I'm so blessed and so grateful to be in recovery. I'm so blessed for every one of you that touched my life, man. Like every single one of you teach me something. Everybody who reaches out, whether they reach out in gratitude or reach out with pain, teaches me something about myself and about the rest of the universe. So thank you so much, each and every one of you. Thank you so much for that. And Haiti,
And thank you for.
I'd like to thank you as well.
Thank you.
Haiti I met this girl a couple of years ago, and I was like, I want to do this Why Wait for Recovery thing, and she was all business about it. She didn't realize that she was an addict, but anyway, all
That's a whole
business
story
about
for
it. Yeah, it's a
another
really
time.
big story. But anyway, thank you for being on this journey with me.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thanks for
it.
bringing me on the journey,
I
actually.
know.
So I just want to also say thank you for allowing me to be of service, because really without you, my recovery wouldn't be as awesome as it is, because
Exactly.
it helps me share. And if anyone wants to be of service, let us know, because there's loads of stuff we can do with some help with.
Yeah.
We look forward to seeing you on Sunday, and we absolutely love you. I'm so grateful for you. And peace out,
Peace
everybody.
out, you guys.
Thank you.
Enjoy your recovery. Recovery's awesome.